Hey, what's going on, world? It's your boy Boom back at it again for This Is 50, man. We got another great special guest today, man. We got the funny, man. I'll tell you, he's hilarious as hell, especially with his impressions indefinitely. But he's one of the stars on the new Tiffany Haddish Netflix series, They Ready. Pretty much, man. We got Dean Edwards in the building, man.
Yeah.
What's going on with you, Pop?
Oh, I'm chilling, man. Good to be here. Glad that we got the electricity replaced. You know what I mean?
Facts,
Good to
facts.
be back live, man.
Only in Texas, only in Texas. But man,
Only
well,
two.
first, man, first thing I know a lot of people want to know, man, with the new or this new season, it's
Yeah,
pretty much the same. Tiffany handpicked you guys
yeah,
specifically because she knew
yeah.
what you guys bring to the table and what you guys have contributed to comedy in general. I would like to ask, man, how did you and Tiffany first meet?
We first met in the clubs, in the comedy clubs in LA. During I think my first season on Saturday Night Live. I think I had started making trips more regularly out to Hollywood because that's where the industry was, and it was beautiful that I was able to live in New York and become a part of Hollywood with Saturday Night Live. But the rest of the industry pretty much was out there. So I started making more and more trips out to Cali on a regular basis for like pilot season, what have you, when SNL was over. And I'm gonna say probably around '03. '03 we started I started seeing her. We were both comedians working our way through the comedy club scene in LA, and Tiffany was just this bright ball of energy. The same Tiffany that we see now is the same Tiffany from back then, but she was younger, so it was even more energy. And I know she always says that when I first saw her, I'd be like, yo, Tiffany, chill. And she's like, yo, I was like, yo, chill. Let the people come to you. You don't have to run around. Nah, I'm politics. I'm like, Tiffany, relax. If you're dope, they will come. And eventually they came. And she eventually came and sat down, me and my boy Butch Bradley. And we just, I think most comics just saw her light and wanted to make sure we protected her because it's some jackals out there's some jackals out on the scene. And so cute, beautiful young lady out there, we want to make sure that's our sister, our little sister. We want to make sure we protect her, and we did, and it paid off because she reached back when the time was right. Years later she had this opportunity. They had a great season one with They Ready. And so during in the midst of a worldwide pandemic, she knew she could call myself and Barbara Carlisle and Tony Woods and Godfrey and Kim Clark and Erin Jackson and say, listen, we're somewhat restricted as far as how we can maneuver as far as getting out and working out our material, because most comics, especially if you live in New York or LA, yeah, you're getting up multiple times a night to work out. It's like going to the gym, and if I'm bouncing, if I'm in New York and I'm bouncing from the Comedy Cellar to the Village Underground to Stand Up New York to Fat Black Pussycat and Caroline's, I might do 4 or 5 sets in a night, where I'm just doing my best to tighten up what I'm saying and get it TV ready. And we didn't have as many chances to get on stage because it's a different world right now during this whole COVID quarantine. And she knew who she could lean on under this type of pressure that would deliver. And fortunately, we premiered February 2nd, and we trended on Netflix, and the response has been amazing worldwide. I think hearing positive feedback from South Africa and Dubai and Egypt and France, Amsterdam, and then Harlem to Hollywood. It's been amazing.
For sure, man. Now, the series pretty much opened you up to a wide new audience, that was familiar with Tiffany, but they got a
Right.
chance to get to see you do your thing that you've been doing for a long time. First of all, man, I know a lot of people asking, how long have you been doing comedy for, and what was it like just reaching out and touching this whole new fan base now, thanks to They Ready?
Yeah, man, it's you know what I started way back in the last millennium. I just hit my 29-year anniversary for first time on stage. First time I was on stage, February 21st, 1992, 2 weeks before Def Comedy Jam premiered. And it's been an amazing ride, amazing journey. It's funny because some of us, I know myself, Godfrey, Godfrey and I actually, when the pandemic hit, had the pandemic not hit, we had a 2-week tour through the Middle East, Qatar, Bahrain, Riyadh and Jeddah and Saudi, and then and one more and Kuwait. So fortunately, um, we've been international. Some of us have been international performers and entertainers for a decade or two. But this just blasted out even wider because having being at Tiffany is such a big illuminating star. She's like said, "Come on, y'all, get on my back. I'm gonna pull y'all in and get y'all some light too." I mean, I just did Ellen's for the first time 2 weeks ago, and had soccer moms, reaching out on my social media at IMD Networks and just leaving comments under pictures and videos saying, "Oh my gosh, I just saw you on They Ready season 2. You were so funny. I love the fact that my whole family could watch." It's been dope, man.
For sure, for sure. Now, man, you mentioned like doing Middle East shows in the Middle East and whatnot. But man, I gotta ask you, man, with this pandemic going on, it affected a lot of comedians like yourself that were, that stuck to the traditions of, getting out on the road, doing shows weekly, week out, on a regular basis. And then the pandemic hits and it's like pretty much your whole income is pretty much wiped out, man. But manage to, how did you figure out how to adapt? I would say.
It didn't take long. I know. Shout out to my man. Shout out to Godfrey. Because G he got on the social media early as far as just going live. He started doing. Godfrey is the granddaddy of the marathon lives. I think he's the first cat I knew that. Because at one point you could only do an hour on IG Live, and I think the verses had something to do with them expanding it, because that's what Black folks do. We expand culture, right? And Godfrey's he was the first person I personally knew that could go for like 3 hours without it cutting him off, and so he got me. It started as the pivot where I started doing a Monday night podcast on my IG Live called the For the Bucket Protocol Live on IG, where I just invited, he was my first guest. We're now 46 episodes deep, where we've been for the last 46 weeks. I've had some of my favorite comedians and friends on there. And we talk, it's really just an inspirational and motivational talk to share people's journeys, whether it was JB Smooth, we had JB Smooth on there. Had Godfrey, my man, Atheon Crockett, Jay Farrow, Daryl Hannah from SNL, Roy Wood Jr. from The Daily Show, Sebastian Maniscalco, who has sold out Madison Square Garden a bunch of times, Jim Gaffigan, who's done the same, Marina Franklin, Gina Gassray, just amazing talent. Some of the people, Tiffany, of course, Tiffany Haddish, has been on it, and it's been two-sided because on the one hand, it's been an amazing way for me just to be able to connect to my folk, right? Because we're used to being in the clubs and kicking it, but we haven't that fellowship in a year, and so it's just nice to have somewhere where I could talk to some of my friends and they could share some of their insight on this industry, not just on comedy, but in entertainment. Deion Cole dropped some jewels, on Marlon Wayans, talking to him about, being your own creator. And I think the pandemic has forced us all to pivot. And someone like myself, I've been fortunate because I do a lot of voiceover work. And so it's really just about creating multiple revenue streams where, you know what, this isn't, I'm not able to tour, but our cartoon president is on Showtime, and so that, there was work there for me. And I'm Eddie Murphy's vocal double for all things donkey. And so we just wound up getting something else, that where they have to do something for Universal Studios in Beijing. So it's, there's always some way, some opportunity that if you push yourself and apply yourself, and as Denzel said, there's that consistency and commitment to the work, then it is possible to still find a way to survive and even thrive during all of this.
For sure, for sure. Now, during They Ready, you did discuss how your niche was impressions, but you made sure it wasn't like your only tool. Like you made sure you had that and you had everything else to go with it, which is something that you had, you've had time to perfect over the last 29 years. So I want to know, man, and then with the thing about impressions, when people do impressions like yourself, like that, do really good, they often get compared to a Jay Farrar or Jamie Foxx or something like that. Oh, like they ripping off Jamie, or they ripping off Jay or something like that. But you've been doing it just as long as they have, man. How did you make sure to stay in your own lane with with this, or with the impressions, and doing the regular comedy that you present on They Ready?
Hey man, I'm a stand up first, right? The impressions, this is 50, so it's like I couldn't not come on here and not, talk about 50 Cent, you know what I'm saying? But I'm a stand up comedian first. That's the foundation. I am a stand up that happens to have multitude of tools, impressions being one of them. So it's always been my goal to make sure that, I had the jokes first, and then if I had jokes to go with the impressions, then I said, you know what, I'll do them. They're impressions that I do, like y'all people haven't seen me do Davey Smooth on stage yet, but that doesn't mean I can't do them. It's just a matter of, peace, and Charlemagne the God. The dog of the day today is my tongue for getting in the way while I'm trying to speak. Like, until I have a good, solid joke that is not only going to make me laugh, but it's going to make other comedians laugh, I'm not just doing it on stage for sake of saying, hey, here's a joke, here's my impression, because I don't want to just impress people. I want to make people laugh. Like, to me, the goal of stand-up comedy is to make people laugh. And so shout out to everybody else that does impressions, good friends of mine. So like I said, I had my man Jay on. We haven't had Jamie Foxx on, but right now, actually, I do have a joke where I'm working on a Jamie Foxx, Jamie Foxx impersonation, and the bit that I have, I think, similar to, I had this old Charlie Murphy bit where it's talking about Charlie and how he loved telling rest in peace Charlie Murphy. That's my new, like, the Charlie Murphy joke that I had is a classic, and I'm working on a new classic with the Jamie Foxx. So always funny first. The impressions will be there, and my goal is and if when people see They Ready season 2, especially my closing bit, the closing 6 minutes of my set, I think people will understand the difference between what I'm doing and as far as with the impressions compared to what everybody else is doing. Salute to everybody else that carries the trend, but no one will ever look at me and say, oh, he got that from him, because I've been doing this a long time.
For sure, for sure. And then, speaking of comparisons, man, I want to talk to you about comedy being friendly competitive. Like, a lot of people think that, like, it's fiercely competitive, but it's friendly competitive between you guys. It's like, look, bigging each other up at the same time, but at the same time, you're like, yo, he funny, but I'm funnier. I got to be funnier, or I got to try and outwit him and whatnot. Just break down the friendly competition of the business.
Well, it's, what, it's say for instance with They Ready season 2, right? There's 6 comics. You got my man Godfrey. The order the order of the episodes, we each have our own standalone specials, and then the after show, which was episode 7. So Godfrey is the first one, and then I think it's Aaron Jackson, then Tony Woods, then Kimberly Clark, then Barbara Carlisle, then myself. As a comic, you always want to be the one that the night of show that people are talking about you, right? So I'm a big hip hop head. Shout out to Brooklyn, BLG every day, all day, right? Like when rappers like steel sharpens steel, and so when Jay-Z was coming up and he was in ciphers with Biggie, and Biggie was in ciphers and went to the same high school as Busta Rhymes, right? If they're all in a cipher, they all trying to like prove they're the nicest. And so it's still all love. It's still I respect my mans. I respect my homegirl, and we're all pushing each other. And so I'm watching Godfrey. I'm like, oh, word, that's how you come in, because it's also like we're running this relay. Godfrey runs his leg, and as he comes around the curve, Aaron Jackson is waiting to catch the baton, and then she runs her leg, and so forth. And then when it's time for me, I'm like, what, I'm going last. I gotta finish strong. I gotta come around that curve on some Usain Bolt, and so we all push each other. You have a mutual respect of your peers as a comedian, specifically when you go on and other comics are still in the room watching, and because that's respect, because they respect what you're doing enough that they want to see what you're bringing, because clearly you've made them laugh in the past. And coming up, my peers were cats like Todd Lynn and Patrice O'Neal, rest in peace. And make sure y'all check out Patrice's new documentary on Comedy Central, Killing Is Easy. But that was one of my friends that I'm watching Patrice come off stage, and he's in the back of the room, so I want to make sure that he respects what I'm doing. And he's like, yeah, that was funny, and that's what you want. You want the mutual admiration and respect of other comics, other comedians, and your peers, because they're the ones that will say, did you see Dean Edwards special? And to me, like, as much as I loved all the worldwide dap and recognition people have given over the last month since we premiered February 2nd, having your peers, having Deion Cole hit me up, having Gina Yashere, having Roy Wood Jr. text me at 3 a.m. like, yo, son, you just did what? That means the world to me.
Definitely, man. Like you said, you had people like Patrice that watched you after their sets and watched and gave you pretty much, I guess I would say, like the verification that you were
exactly
that you desperately seeked. But I want to know, man, who was your hardest person to impress?
To do an impression of?
No, impress. Like, no, I mean,
to impress.
Yeah.
Real talk, me. Like, because I'm setting the bar so high. I mean, you'd like to. I mean, I remember when I started going to LA, probably about I say a decade into going to LA, around 2009, 2010. You started seeing Eddie Murphy was hanging out in the clubs a lot, or he just drop in just to watch the show. And if I'm performing, I look up and I see Eddie laughing. To me, I won. I didn't care about nobody else. If Eddie's like, oh, I'm like, there's nobody else to give me a cosign, and so because Eddie's the one that made me say that's what I want to do. When I was coming up, I was like, I want to be just like Eddie. I want to mimic him. I want to use my fingers, my hands, the same way that Eddie uses his hands, and so getting his approval kind of just reinforces in my mind, you're doing the right thing. And so I'm always trying to outdo myself. Like the challenge now is, after doing the work and putting in the work that we did for season 2 of They Ready, and getting the response and getting a standing ovation at the end of my set the way I did, now I'm like, now I gotta step it up harder and really turn it up. So when I do my hour special for Netflix, you know, people are like, you gotta breathe it into existence. I manifested this, so I'm gonna manifest that. You know, when I shoot my hour special for Netflix, people will be like, yo, that's the dude. Son killed it in 20 minutes. So what's he gonna do with an hour? And I'm going for classic, man. I like I said, I'm a big hip hop head, so I'm all about quotables. I want people talking about it in the barbershop. I want people talking about it on the 6 train, headed uptown to the BX. I want people, talking about it, or mimicking me at school the next day, and so that's why I'm always shooting to over impress myself.
No doubt, no doubt. Well,
That was a good question too. That was a good
Netflix has definitely Netflix has really elevated comedy in just the whole genre itself. Like, they've turned superstars, and they've turned superstars into bigger stars, and
yeah,
unknowns into stars that they are today, like a Tom Segura, like
yeah,
a
yeah,
like even with Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle doing their
yeah,
like their second leg on their
yeah,
careers.
yeah.
And man, I mean, like you said, you know,
I'm shooting for that $20 million paycheck. That's what I'm looking.
right.
I
So
just get a portion.
did you withhold any jokes for your comedy special that you could have really blown away on They Ready?
Nah, you know what? I accomplished exactly what I wanted to in the time, because I knew we all only had about 20 minutes. So I said, with formulating this set, I was like, all right, you know what? I want, just like any book behind me, I want a strong beginning, middle, and a strong ending to captivate people and keep them interested and wanting more. And I believe I did that. I think the response I've received so far has proven that I've done that. But I have a lot more material. I mean, we've been doing this for so many years that y'all just got a small taste. This was like, to me, this was a great appetizer set for people to say, yo, I want to check out that Dean Edwards and see what else he has to say. And I'm excited. I'm excited for what else is in store, because that was just the surface, man.
For sure, man. And then one thing I want to ask you a question is about longevity and consistency. So, like, the reason why I asked that is because recently, just with the whole Kevin Hart's comedy specials going from being like the funniest thing out to people criticizing him heavily. But I want to ask you, man, as a comic, how do you maintain longevity and consistency?
Shout out to Kevin. That's my, yo, boom, boom. All right, boom. Let me explain something. First of all, people have to understand. Nah, um, you know what? Consistency. Number one, you have to understand, because what Kev is experiencing similarly, they always do to whomever's on top, right? They did this to Dane Cook about a decade ago. I remember when Dane, I remember watching when Dane started really
Yeah,
popping.
he did like 3 specials, and then it was
He
just like
did, yeah, he did three
last one. People
specials.
was like, it wasn't as funny as your first one. So,
Right. But here's the thing, Pete, and again, this network looks safe. I don't know
you good,
that's
fam. Keep going.
okay. Um, that was funny. Now, they do the same thing with music artists. My favorite whole album is still Reasonable Doubt, right? Because what he did in 22 twos to this is the number one rule for your set: in order to survive, gotta learn to live with regrets. Like, to me, that applies now just as much as it applied in 96, right? And so you have people that rocked with you from day one, right? You have people that rock with you from day one that might not feel they weren't as into Kingdom Come as they were into the Black album, right? But if you go back and listen to Kingdom Come, that's a don't show what you got, little mama.
It
You
was
know,
an
that's a
adult
good
album.
record.
It was a more contemporary adult album.
Right, right. And people have to give people a chance to grow with you, grow with them, right? I think Kev has been funny as because I remember Kev when he first started coming up here from Philly, and so to see him go from the Laugh House in Philly to Boston Comedy Club or West Third in the Village to selling out arenas. The show is going to be different because you're a different performer. It's also there's also a challenge with maintaining the same tenacity and integrity. Excuse me, comedically, but that becomes more challenging because you have other responsibilities. You're not just a stand-up; you're also an actor. You're also a producer. So you don't have the same amount of time to focus. And to me, it all just it makes you work harder on your next joint. People that are writing him or any other comedians out because of what they didn't like, what you didn't like on one particular special. If you really like think about how goofy that is when people do the whole write off, and I never like the term falling off, because I'm like, how you fall off if you're someone like Kevin and you put out 5 or 6 specials. That's a fall off. You know what I mean? It's just y'all didn't like that. Okay, I pivot. And that's what we all do, because comedy is also extremely subjective, right? It's so subjective, unlike music, whereas people will say what they will about saying R. Kelly. Like, to me, once you put it out there, it is public. It's owned by us. So, regardless of what someone did, whether it's R. Kelly, whether it's Cosby. I still watch the Cosby Show with my family because
Yeah.
he stopped owning it once it came into my house. Once it came into my house and it was associated with whatever memories I have, that now is part of my childhood, right? And same thing with music and so forth. And because it's personal. Music hits you a certain way. You hear the chords and they remind you and take you to a certain place. Comedy does that, but not the same way, because even with the advent of like Sirius XM, and you can play a YouTube clip of your favorite stand-ups while you're driving. It's not the same. You're still actively paying attention to it. Whereas if you put on Earth, Wind and Fire, you don't have to listen to it, and you still are hearing it's still hitting you. It's still inside of you.
Facts. I mean, like I said, you're on the new season of They Ready, and
Yeah.
we us speaking on Kevin and his recent criticism. I want to ask you, man, as a comedian, how you doing a special? Are you being a part of a special? Let me know how much, as far as a percentage, how much of the fans' criticism goes into your reaction, and other comics' criticism goes into your reaction.
Wait, give me that question one more time.
All right, so the percentage, what percentage of fans' criticism and the other comics' criticism affect you? I guess I would say, better said.
Oh, you know what? I'll take fan criticism. I pay more attention, I think, to comics critiques or whatever. But really, again, because I'm shooting to impress me, and shoot for the best version of myself that I can be. I check myself before anybody else gets a chance to. I'm very meticulous and concise with what I choose to present on stage. And so if it goes well, I'll take all the praise. But if it doesn't go well, I'm the first one in the mirror saying, "Wow, damn, you know what? I should have done this. You know what? I shouldn't have sat down. I was a little too lax. during this set. Like I beat myself up all the time. There actually there's one or two things in my set on Nate Ready that I'm I'm more disappointed that y'all will never know, right? But there's like one or two jokes that because I was like I said, I only had 4 weeks to really prepare for it. So I knew there was a chance, even with all the repetition, that I was gonna possibly forget one or two lines, and I forgot like one or two bits. And I was like, damn, that would have been perfect. Like in the Little Mermaid bit, I had a reference to, people have a problem with the Little Mermaid being played by a black woman, but nobody had a problem that they chose a West Indian to play the crab under the sea,
Yeah,
right? And it was just a little tag that I forgot that after I didn't know until I sort of the finished editing. I was like, oh, you know what I did? I just forgot it. So I'm a harshest critic as most creatives are.
for sure. Where do you come up with your
Yeah.
best material?
Shoot, I can come, come up with it on these podcasts. And I'm just playing. Nah, you know what? Some everywhere, man. I've always been comfortable, in my own skin, just chilling, just vibing out, sitting in my room, riding in the car, washing dishes, because I think they said there's something where when you're using the right side of your brain, then the left side gets activated and vice versa. So sometimes when I'm doing housework, work around the house, but every day I'll sit down and write something. Whether it's funny or not, who knows? But I think the part of the beauty of the creative process is just clearing the pipes and stream of consciousness, writing something, and then taking inspiration from any and every place in your life, whether it's going to a funeral and being inspired by something that happens, or you're seeing people crying, you're like, why are we all crying? We alive. We should be happy, to being amongst people. And I think that's the beauty of traveling so often as an entertainer, is the more I've traveled, the wider my scope has gotten, the more aware of the rest of the world I am, and that informs your world. It informs your creativity and your art. Reading more books, the more I read, the more you're expanding your horizons to other worlds out there and other people's perspectives.
For sure, man. One thing I want
Boom, the boom got the good questions.
to I'll try. Well, I got another one, man. Being that you've been doing comedy for 29 years now. Damn, it's
Yeah,
almost
yeah,
30. You got a plan for
yeah.
your anniversary for the 30 or
The 30-year comedy anniversary will come to a culmination with me presenting my full hour set on Netflix. I'm breathing that into existence right now, and I say that I'm big on really the power of words and the power of manifesting, because and if y'all on social media, follow at I am Dean Edwards, but go back a couple of weeks ago, I posted a clip from December 11th, 2019. I woke up one morning, I just recorded myself saying, yo, I just had an epiphany. I will be shooting a comedy special for Netflix in 2020. I had no idea how I was going to make that happen. I didn't know how to go about it. I just started planning for it. And fast forward 9 months, 8 months later, and Tiffany was calling me saying, yo, we shooting in October. You ready? I'm like, I've been ready. They ready. And so there's this power in you idealize, visualize, and then manifest. And I'm everybody that sees this. If you want something, you can make it happen, and the universe and the creative uh energy in the universe, or the creator, God, Allah, Buddha, whomever you call it by, will conspire to make them reality. I am a prime example of that. And so my 30-year anniversary goal is to have shot and released my opus, my hour comedy special on Netflix, because I want to affect an entire generation of comedians, of future comedians, and have everyone say, "Yo, that's what made me want to do this." The same way when I was a kid, um, I saw Eddie Murphy. I was like, I want to be just like Eddie, and I said that way back when, and I wound up on SNL years later. I didn't know back then I was going to be on Saturday Night Live, but I said that's what I want to do, and I wound up on SNL, and I wound up becoming Eddie's vocal double for All Things Donkey. So there's power in words, man.
Definitely speaking it into existence. But man, I want to ask you,
Exactly.
man, being that you've been doing it for 29 years, I also have a brother who does comedy, and he's been doing it
Okay.
for a little over a decade now. And I
Okay.
want to ask you, just being that somebody who's been doing it for as long as you have, I know you've had to deal with your adversities, whether it's with
Mhm.
friends or families. Being a comic isn't easy, especially when it's your only job that you want to do in the world.
Right.
So
Right.
being that he has been doing it for a long time, shout out to Tyson
Mhm.
Paul, by the way,
Shout
but
out Tyson Paul. I see you, Pop.
no doubt, no doubt, man. I want to ask you, man, because he gets it a lot from his relationships and from family members, from not from family members, but from girlfriends and stuff like that. You know how it
I
is, man.
like how you saved yourself. You're like, nah, I not for
Hey,
me.
not for me, but yeah, man, but just relationships in general, man. They sit there and be like, yeah, you funny, but it's not bringing in any money, man. How did you remain positive throughout all these years, man?
Right.
So
Right.
advise other up and coming comics who
Right.
this is what they want to do. This is their
Right.
passion,
Right.
and expire and let us know.
Right. My first advice, anyone that knows me knows I'm not big on advice, because what worked for one person might not work for the next person. But my feedback is, number one, separate from everybody else, including family, loved ones, friends, and your boo, is you gotta have the type of faith, not only in yourself but in God. Um, that if this is your purpose, that you stay true and walk in your purpose. Don't let anybody affect your faith, because if you believe in the idea of having faith, how can I be shaken? Right? Regardless of what anybody says, if this is meant for Tyson and he believes in it, and if he's with someone that's like, you need to do something else, well, maybe they ain't for him, and Tyson's lady, I'm not saying you're not. I'm just saying that what is key in any making any dream into reality, the more support you have, the easier it is, because you're gonna get rejection. You're gonna constantly get rejected by the industry. You're gonna have other if you as a comedian, you're gonna have other comedians that doubt you. You're gonna have audience members that doubt you, because they have this posture in the audience, and how I'm supposed to make you laugh, and you have judgmental posture. As you find success. I mean, look, like you said, with Kev is at the pinnacle, at the highest heights of entertainment, and there's still people that are going to doubt him. You're always going to have people that are going to find something wrong with you, and so the best thing to do is have your blinders on and know your focus and know your goal, and hold yourself to such a high standard that it doesn't matter what everybody else says, because you're shooting for a goal. That's my main suggestion to any upcoming artists, is do the work. Put in the work. The work is there. If you're a comedian, get on stage. Because people always, I think in the era of smartphones and social media, it can come a lot. People can get opportunities quickly, but they also can fizzle out, because it's like, okay, you created this character online, but what else do you have, right? And so, have the balance. Do the due diligence, where you're, like I said, if you write every day, no one can get mad at you because you're creating, when you're a creative, right? Nobody can get mad at you for getting on stage if that's what you're supposed to do. Again, if anyone out there has someone that's supposed to be for them, and they're not supporting their goals and pursuing that vocation, they might not be for them. I was fortunate. My wife has been with me pretty much for the entire ride. You know, we've been together 26 years, and I've been doing this 29 years. So she's seen all the peaks and valleys. And there were times when she was in grad school at Howard, I was living in do or die Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, and didn't have money to pay the cable bill or the light bill, and she held me down so that I could hold her down in the future. And that's the teamwork that it takes to make that dream work. So hold your head, Tyson.
For sure, man. But man, let me this last question, man. For they ready, man? Are we ready for Dean Edwards?
But if y'all aren't ready, y'all gonna get ready, because I believe the world is ready for Dean Edwards, man. I believe, what it sounds cliche, but when people say success is when opportunity meets the preparation. I've been preparing for this for a long time, and I think the success is just in the last month. People have responded in such a positive way. I'm very grateful for it. But as the title says, they ready, and so I'm ready for everything that's coming, and that's why Tiffany could call me, and give me 4 weeks to prepare. And it worked out extremely well. And she could hit me up, and in a week's time say, we're doing Ellen next week, and it connects with people on a worldwide level, because she knows who's reliable and who's going to bring that funny. And y'all make sure, everybody that's watching this, make sure you go stream They Ready season 2. There are 7 episodes. Watch every comedian, but if you want to see this one in particular, Dean Edwards, I am episode 6, but watch everybody. You will not be disappointed. And then watch episode 7, because you get to see behind the scenes of what comedians, really get to experience. Follow me on my social media at I am Dean Edwards, IAM Dean Edwards, because that's who I am. And every Monday night, I have a live podcast called the Father Muffin Protocol live on Instagram, where I bring in some of my favorite friends and comedians that you all know, whether it's like I said, whether it's JB Smooth, whether it's Tiffany Haddish, whether it's Godfrey, Jim Gaffigan, Sebastian, Roy Wood, Gina Yashere, just amazing comedians that come and really pull back the covers and let y'all see the truth of all of our journeys. My man Earthquake, laid me out. Tony Roberts, my girl Lunell is coming on, so it's just been a great way to reconnect with all the comics that I can't see in person, but we can connect through this 2 dimensions and these smartphones, man, and also inspire people. That's my goal with this, is just to keep inspiring, because the gift of life is to give and give without end. So the more I give, the more I receive, and it's beautiful.
For sure, man. Well, like I said, man, you guys don't know. Now you know, man. They ready.
If you don't know, now you know.
Definitely check out Dean Edwards on this season, on the new season of They Ready by Tiffany Haddish, man. And if you guys don't know, man, check out more of Dean Edwards everywhere. Go on YouTube, matter of fact, and just type in his name, and you'll see all these funny bits that he has. Definitely. So, and then, like I said, man, thanks for being a guest, man. We look forward to
Thank you for having me, bro. Appreciate it.
Look forward to much success from you in the future, man. I know we're gonna see that hour-long Netflix special, and we're gonna have this conversation all over again, man.
Yes, sir. Let me tell you something, guys, this is 50.com, so I had to make sure it came on when they said, yo, they want you on. I was like, yo, I got to be there, because this is for the culture. So yo, big ups, man. I had a blast doing this. Boom. I look forward to coming back on for the 30-year anniversary special for the Mucking Funny. We're breathing it into existence. Save this clip so you can say he really said this a year ago, and here it is. So I look forward to that moment, man.
For sure, man. Like I said, we got Dean Edwards. Make sure you check him out on Tiffany Haddish. They Ready. Available on Netflix now. If you guys don't have a Netflix, go borrow it from somebody else.
Borrow someone's, baby.
But for sure, man, Dean Edwards, we out of here. Peace.
All up. Peace.